Elias Trent had never been to a space station this large before. The Viora research hub stretched for kilometers, a ring of metal and glass floating quietly near the edge of a blue nebula. From the shuttle window, he could see whole sections of the ring glittering with light, docking bays opening and closing as ships came and went. To him, it looked like a city in the sky, huge, busy, and full of people he had never met. He had been assigned here after finishing his engineering program on Earth. At 26, he was skilled but still new to the life of deep space work. The Federation needed humans in far-off projects, and Elias had volunteered without much thought. He wanted adventure. He wanted to see new worlds. But now, as the shuttle glided toward the docking ring, his nerves grew heavy. He whispered to himself, "It's just another posting. Just another job. He'll be fine." When the shuttle docked, he stepped out with his small bag, following the flow of officers and scientists. The station's corridors were wide, built for more than just humans. Here, dozens of alien species walked side by side. Some looked almost human, others looked nothing like him at all. Scaled, furred, tall, short, floating, even glowing. Elias tried not to stare, but his eyes wandered anyway. His orders were clear. Report to Section D12. Quarters Block 7. He carried his bag through the busy halls, reading signs in both Galactic Common and English. Finally, after riding 2 lifts and walking down a long stretch of shining metal, he found the door to his assigned room. The digital panel above it glowed with the name Resident E. Trent, Resident S. Lyrenus. Elias paused. His brows drew together. S. Lyrenus? That doesn't sound like a human name. He pressed his ID card to the panel and the door slid open with a soft hiss. The room was not very large, just enough space for 2 people. 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 storage wall, and a small shared living space. It was neat and quiet. On the left side of the room, someone had already unpacked. A bed was neatly made, sheets pressed. The desk was lined with carefully stacked data pads, and a cloak hung neatly on a wall hook. The cloak shimmered faintly, like woven glass. Elias set his bag on the other bed and let out a breath. Guess my roommate is already here. He had expected another human engineer or technician, but the name Lyrenus made him uneasy. He didn't know what kind of person or alien he was about to live with. A sound came from the bathroom door, a soft chime as it slid open. Elias turned, and there she was. At first glance, she looked almost human. A tall woman with sharp, graceful features and long silver hair that fell over her shoulders like liquid metal. Her skin was pale, but with a faint glow, as though tiny lights moved beneath the surface. Her eyes, large and bright, were a strange shade of violet. She wore a simple uniform, fitted and dark, marked with the insignia of the Lyran delegation. Her gaze fell on him, calm but piercing. "You must be Elias Trent." Her voice was smooth, formal, with a faint accent. Elias straightened quickly. "Yes, that's me. And you must be S. Lyrenus?" She gave a small nod. "Serenia Lyrenus, scientist of the Lyran delegation. It seems the station has paired us as roommates." Her words were polite, but her tone was cool, almost distant. Elias had heard of the Lyran before, an advanced alien species known for their intelligence but also for their secrecy. They rarely showed their true appearance outside their own kind. Most of the time they wore hollow disguises that made them look more ordinary. Elias glanced at her glowing skin and wondered. Was this her real form, or was she hiding behind some projection? He couldn't tell. Trying to be friendly, he smiled. "Well, I guess we'll be living together. I'm an engineer, mostly working in maintenance and system repairs. What about you?" "I study xenobiology and energy resonance," she replied simply. "My work requires long hours in the labs. I will not disturb you." Okay. Good to know." The silence between them stretched. Elias cleared his throat and began unpacking his bag, trying to make the room feel normal. But he felt her eyes on him, watching, evaluating. Over the next few days, they settled into a routine. Serenia was quiet, reserved, and very precise in everything she did. She woke at the same time each day, kept her side of the room spotless, and rarely spoke unless necessary. Elias, on the other hand, was more relaxed. He joked with other engineers, left his tools lying around, and sometimes played old Earth music while working at his desk. At first, Serenia seemed slightly irritated by his habits. She would glance at the scattered tools with faint disapproval. She would raise a silver brow when his music played too loud, but she never argued or scolded him. One evening, as Elias tightened a panel on a small power unit, he glanced at her. She was sitting at her desk studying a glowing data pad, her silver hair reflecting the soft lights. "Hey," he asked casually. "Do you ever get bored? I mean, you're always working." Serenia looked up slowly. "Boredom is not useful," Elias chuckled. "Maybe not, but it's part of life. Back on Earth we get bored all the time. Then we do something fun to fix it." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Fun? Yeah, like games, stories, music, whatever makes you relax." For a long moment she seemed to think. Then she said quietly, "Lyrans do not share their forms in leisure." Elias tilted his head. "Forms?" But she did not explain further. Instead, she returned her gaze to the pad. The conversation ended there, but Elias couldn't help feeling curious. She guarded her words carefully as if she feared saying too much. A week later, they were assigned to the same maintenance shift. The plasma conduits on Deck 8 were overheating, and Elias had to inspect the seals. Serenia joined him, carrying strange scanning tools he had never seen before. Working side by side, Elias realized she was more capable than he thought. She understood the systems quickly, noticing details even he missed. Her calm, analytical mind impressed him. At one point, while sparks flew from a damaged panel, Elias almost slipped on the smooth floor. Serenia caught his arm instantly, steady and strong. "You should be careful," she said, her violet eyes holding his. Elias smiled sheepishly. "Thanks, guess I owe you one." Something flickered across her face, not a smile exactly, but a softer look, as if she was beginning to see him differently. By the time they returned to their quarters, Elias felt less nervous around her. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that Serenia was hiding something. Her people's secrets weighed heavily between them. That night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "She's not bad, just different. But what is she hiding?" Elias Trent woke earlier than usual. The station's artificial lights had just shifted from night cycle to dawn cycle, filling the quarters with a soft bluish glow. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, listening to the faint hum of the ventilation system. Normally, Serenia was already awake and gone by now. She always left quietly for the labs before he even stirred. But today her bed was still occupied. The sheets were smooth except for a faint dip where she had been lying. Her cloak still hung neatly on its hook, shimmering faintly in the morning light. Elias frowned. She must have woken just a few minutes earlier. He stretched, yawned, and got to his feet. His schedule was lighter today, just a routine check of power, couplings on Deck 3. Maybe he would actually have time for breakfast. In the mess hall, instead of rushing straight to work, he grabbed a fresh shirt from his locker and headed toward the bathroom door. The small cleansing chamber was shared between them, and normally they had no trouble. Serenia followed such strict routines that Elias always knew when it was free. He never had to wait, so he pressed the door panel without thinking. The door slid open with a soft hiss and then he froze. Inside, steam filled the air, misting against the clear walls. Serenia stood there, her back partly turned toward him. But it was not the Serenia he thought he knew. The quiet, silver-haired scientist in a neat uniform. Her disguise was gone. Her true form was revealed. Elias's breath caught in his throat. Her skin shimmered with light, alive with moving patterns like rivers of starlight flowing under the surface. Colors shifted and swirled. Pale blues, soft greens, and faint golden threads that pulsed gently as though they followed her heartbeat. Her long hair, no longer just metallic silver, glowed faintly too, strands reflecting light like threads of crystal. And her shape, though still humanoid, seemed more graceful, as if every line of her body had been designed by the cosmos itself. Elias had seen many aliens since arriving on the station. Some were fascinating, some were strange, some were frightening, but nothing compared to this. Serenia was not terrifying, she was breathtaking. His eyes widened in stunned awe. He felt like he was staring at a piece of living art. Serenia turned suddenly, realizing the door had opened. Her glowing eyes locked onto him. For one long second, they stared at each other. Elias frozen in shock, Serenia frozen in horror. Then she moved. The patterns of light on her skin flared sharply, turning into a defensive, fiery red. She snatched the nearest towel-like fabric and wrapped it around herself with quick precision. "What are you doing?" Her voice was sharper than Elias had ever heard, filled with alarm. Elias stumbled backward, his face flushing hot. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were in here." I thought, you're always gone by now. I swear I didn't mean, close the door. Serenia snapped. Elias slammed his hand on the panel and the door slid shut, cutting off the sight of her. He stood in the living space, heart pounding, still seeing the after-image of her luminous form in his mind. For a long moment, silence hung in the room. Then came the sound of water shutting off, movement inside, and finally, the door opening again. Serenia stepped out, cloaked once more in her familiar hollow disguise, silver-haired, pale-skinned, uniform neat. But her violet eyes blazed with intensity. She looked directly at Elias, her expression cold and sharp. You saw, she said flatly. Elias raised his hands quickly. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I thought the room was empty. You saw what you were not meant to see. Her voice was low, each word heavy. I'm sorry, Elias said again, his voice desperate. I won't tell anyone, I swear. I'll never say a word. Her glowing eyes narrowed. For a moment, Elias thought she might actually report him or worse. Then she turned away sharply and moved to her desk. Do not speak of this. Not to anyone. Not even to me, she said coldly. What you saw is not for outsiders. Elias nodded quickly. Understood. The rest of the day passed in tense silence. Serenia did not look at him, did not speak, did not even acknowledge his presence. Elias worked his shift with his thoughts spinning wildly. He had not only seen her true form, he had seen something her people guarded carefully, maybe even desperately. Why? Why hide something so beautiful? Why live behind a disguise when their natural form was luminous, alive, extraordinary? But he also knew her anger was not just about privacy. There was history in her voice, weight behind her words. Her people must have reasons, serious reasons, for hiding themselves. That evening, Elias returned to their quarters. Serenia was at her desk again, datapad in hand, but her posture was stiff, guarded. He hesitated near his bed, unsure if he should say anything. Finally, he cleared his throat. Look, he said softly, I know you're upset, and you have every right to be, but I want you to know I respect you. I won't tell anyone. I'll forget what I saw if that's what you want. For a long time, she didn't respond. Then slowly, she set the datapad down and turned to him. Her eyes, still glowing faintly violet, searched his face. Lucien did not look afraid. Elias blinked. Afraid? Most who see our natural form react with fear, disgust, or worse, greed. Her voice trembled slightly on the last word. Our light is valuable. Long ago, other species hunted us for it, to use us as fuel, to break us down into energy. Elias's stomach twisted. That's horrible. That is why we hide, she said quietly. Why we wear the veil of disguise. We cannot trust others with the truth. Elias shook his head. I didn't feel fear. Or disgust. Serenia, you were incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't something ugly to me. It was beautiful. Her eyes widened slightly as if she didn't expect that answer. For a brief moment, the cold wall around her seemed to crack, but then she turned away, her face hardening again. You speak too easily, human. Words are not trust. Actions are. Elias nodded slowly. Then let me prove it. I'll respect your secret. I'll protect it. She studied him for a long moment, then returned to her datapad. We will see, she murmured. The room fell into silence again, but the air felt different now, less like a wall of ice, more like a fragile balance waiting to tip. That night, Elias lay awake in his bed, staring at the ceiling. The image of her glowing form would not leave his mind, not out of desire, not out of fear, but out of awe. He had seen something few, if any, humans had ever seen, and now, whether she wanted it or not, he felt responsible. He whispered to himself, I'll keep your secret, no matter what. He didn't know it yet, but this accidental moment had changed everything. The fragile trust between them was about to be tested in ways far greater than either of them imagined. The next few days were heavy with silence. Elias and Serenia shared the same room, the same air, the same small living space. But it felt as if an invisible wall had grown between them. Serenia spoke only when absolutely necessary. Her words were short, clipped, and cool. She did not look at him when she left for the labs. She did not answer when he tried to make small jokes. She did not even comment when he forgot to put his tools away, something that used to make her raise an eyebrow in quiet disapproval. To Elias, it was worse than anger. At least anger meant feeling. This silence felt like she had locked him out completely. He tried to distract himself with work. On Deck 3, he checked power couplings, adjusted heating systems, and tightened seals. His fellow engineers chatted around him about repairs and upcoming shifts, but Elias only half listened. His thoughts kept circling back to Serenya's glowing form, to her words, "Our light is valuable. Others hunted us for it." That night, when he returned to their quarters, she was already at her desk, typing notes into a data pad. The faint light from the screen made her silver hair glow like a halo. Elias hesitated by his bed. He wanted to speak. He wanted to explain again, to tell her he truly respected her secret, but she did not look up. Her silence told him she wasn't ready, so he lay down, staring at the ceiling, frustration pressing on his chest. The tension grew over the next week. Their schedules crossed more often now. The station assigned them to the same project, an analysis of plasma flow systems that required both engineering knowledge and xenobiology. When Elias first read the order, he almost groaned aloud. Work together now? But there was no choice. The Federation expected cooperation. On the first day of the project, they met in Lab 7. The room was bright and lined with humming equipment. Serenia stood beside a console, her posture straight, her violet eyes fixed on the data scrolling across the screen. She did not greet him. Elias set his toolkit down and forced a smile. "So, plasma conduits, fun." Her expression didn't change. "Your role is to measure the mechanical stress points. Mine is to analyze the biological energy reactions. We will not interfere with each other." "Right," Elias muttered. They worked in silence. Elias examined the conduits, tightening bolts, checking energy readings. Serenia adjusted delicate instruments, her long fingers moving with precision. At one point, he accidentally dropped a spanner. The metal clattered loudly against the floor. Serenia flinched slightly but said nothing. Elias bent to pick it up, muttering, "Sorry, I guess I'm not as graceful as you." Still no reply. Hours passed like this. Only the hum of machinery filled the room. By the third day, Elias couldn't stand it anymore. While Serenia studied a readout, he set his tools down and faced her. "Serenia," he said firmly. She glanced at him briefly, then back to the screen. "We are working, I know. But this can't go on like this. We're supposed to be a team. And right now it feels like you're shutting me out completely." Her hands froze on the console. Slowly she looked up, her violet eyes sharp. "You crossed a boundary. You saw what was not meant to be seen. Do you think words can erase that?" Elias stepped closer, lowering his voice. "No, I know I can't erase it. But I told you I respect your secret. I haven't told anyone. I never will." Her gaze hardened. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you are simply waiting for the right time to sell the memory. Humans are ambitious. Many of your kind hunger for power." Elias's chest tightened. "You really think I'd do that?" "Why not?" "It has happened before. It will happen again." Her words carried such bitterness that Elias realized this wasn't just about him. This was about her people's history, the betrayals they had suffered. He took a deep breath. "Maybe others would, but I'm not like that. I saw you, Serenia, and I didn't think of profit or power or anything like that. I just thought, you were amazing." For the first time, she faltered. Her eyes softened just slightly before she turned away. "You speak with ease, but trust is not built with words." "Then let me prove it," Elias said. "Give me the chance." She did not answer. But she also did not dismiss him. That tiny shift gave him hope. Later that week, an emergency struck. The alarm blared across the station, shrill and urgent. "Warning, reactor core plasma leak detected. All personnel, stand by." Elias ran toward the engineering deck, tools in hand. Smoke and sparks filled the corridor. Engineers shouted orders, running from console to console. The reactor chamber itself was glowing dangerously, streams of plasma hissing through tiny cracks in the conduits. The energy shield strained, groaning under the pressure. "Trent," Chief Engineer Vera shouted. "We need hands on the stabilizers now." Elias rushed to the nearest panel, but he wasn't alone. Serenia appeared at his side, her cloak swirling as she activated her scanners. Her expression was calm, but her eyes burned with focus. "Plasma density is spiking," she said quickly. "If the flow reaches point 0, the shields will fail." Elias nodded. "Then let's stop it." For the first time in days, they worked side by side. Elias tightened the conduits while Serenia recalibrated the plasma resonance. Sparks showered them both, but neither faltered. At one point, a metal support broke free, crashing down toward Elias. Before he could react, Serenia grabbed his arm and pulled him clear. "You should be careful," she said, her voice sharp but filled with concern. Elias grinned despite the danger. "Didn't I say you're graceful?" "Thanks." Her lips pressed tightly, but her eyes flickered with something unspoken. The crisis lasted hours. Together, Elias and Serenia sealed the cracks, redirected plasma flow, and stabilized the reactor long enough for backup systems to engage. When the alarms finally ceased, a wave of relief swept through the crew. Chief Vera clapped Elias on the shoulder. "Good work, Trent, and you too, Lorenus. You both kept this station alive." Serenia inclined her head politely, but her eyes slid toward Elias for a brief moment. This time there was no coldness in her gaze, only quiet acknowledgement. That night, back in their quarters, the silence between them felt different. Not heavy, not hostile. Just quiet. Elias sat on his bed, exhausted. Serenia sat at her desk, but she wasn't reading. She seemed to be thinking. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft, hesitant. "You protected me. In the chamber." Elias looked up. "Of course I did. That's what teammates do." She studied him for a long moment. "Perhaps you are not like the others." Elias smiled faintly. "That's all I've been trying to tell you." For the first time, her lips curved, not into a full smile, but into something gentler than before. The rift between them was not gone. But the first bridge had been built, and Elias knew he would keep building it no matter how long it took. The station had survived the plasma leak, but the danger was not over. Damage reports flowed in across every deck. Stabilizers were weak, conduits unstable, and energy fluctuations spread like cracks in glass. If one more failure occurred near the core, the Viora research hub could be lost. Elias and Serenia were assigned to work together again. This time there was no argument. Everyone saw how well they had handled the first emergency. They were now one of the most trusted pairs on the engineering crew. Still, Elias felt the weight of it. Walking beside Serenia through the metal corridors, he kept glancing at her. Her silver hair shimmered faintly in the overhead lights, and her eyes were calm, almost too calm. "You're quiet," he said softly. "I am thinking," she replied. "About what?" "About survival." Elias gave a small smile. "That makes two of us." When they reached the reactor chamber, the air felt heavy. Energy shields buzzed faintly, and plasma glowed behind reinforced glass. Engineers moved quickly, voices sharp with urgency. Chief Vara greeted them with a grim expression. "We bought ourselves time, but the plasma flow is still unstable. If it spikes again, we won't have another chance. We need the resonance systems recalibrated manually." Serenia's eyes narrowed. "That requires Lyran biointerface. The machines were built for my kind." Vara nodded. "Yes, but the chamber's environment is unstable. Radiation levels are rising. Going in there will be dangerous." Elias stepped forward immediately. "Then I'll go with her." Vara looked at him, doubtful. "Trent, humans aren't designed to withstand that exposure." "I don't care," Elias said firmly. "She shouldn't go in alone. She'll need help with the mechanical parts. I'll handle those." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Serenia spoke, her voice calm but decisive. "He is correct. I will require assistance. He comes with me." Vera exhaled and handed them protective gear. "Fine, but be fast." Inside the chamber, the heat was oppressive. Red and blue light pulsed from the plasma conduits, casting shifting shadows across the walls. Sparks hissed and the floor trembled underfoot. Elias tightened the seals on his suit and glanced at Serenia. "You ready?" She nodded, pulling her cloak aside to reveal a small device attached to her wrist. "I must deactivate my holodisguise. The machines will not respond otherwise." Elias's breath caught. He knew what that meant. He would see her true form again, not by accident this time, but by choice. Serenia pressed the device, and in an instant her disguise shimmered away. Her skin lit with bioluminescence, patterns of light flowing across her arms and neck. Her hair glowed faintly like threads of starlight. Her violet eyes seemed brighter than the plasma itself. Even in the danger of the reactor chamber, Elias felt awe. She was extraordinary. She glanced at him sharply as if expecting mockery. Instead, he smiled under his helmet. "Let's save this place." They approached the central console. Strange alien symbols glowed faintly across its surface, shifting like liquid light. Serenia placed her hands against it. The patterns on her skin pulsed in rhythm with the machine, resonating with the flow of plasma. Elias crouched beside her, pulling out his tools. Tell me what you need. The stabilizers on the left conduit are failing, she said. You must tighten them while I align the resonance fields. But hurry, the pressure is rising. Elias nodded and moved quickly, adjusting bolts and sealing cracks as sparks flew. His hands worked fast, guided by instinct and training. Beside him, Serenya's glow intensified. Her patterns shifted in rapid pulses, her whole body humming faintly with energy. She was more than just controlling the machine, she was becoming part of it. Suddenly, a loud crack split the air. A section of the ceiling broke loose, falling directly toward Serenya. "Serenya!" Elias shouted. Without hesitation, he threw himself forward, tackling her out of the way. The heavy debris crashed where she had been standing, scattering sparks. They landed hard on the metal floor. Elias winced at the impact, but he quickly pushed himself up. "Are you okay?" Serenya looked at him, her glowing eyes wide with surprise. "You shielded me." "Of course I did," Elias said, breathing hard. "I wasn't about to let you get crushed." For a moment, their eyes locked, human determination meeting alien light. Then Serenya pushed herself up, her expression softer than he had ever seen. "Thank you," she whispered. They returned to their work. Elias fought against failing bolts and overheating systems, his hands burning from the heat even through his gloves. Serenya poured her strength into the resonance, her patterns shifting faster and faster, syncing with the plasma's unstable rhythm. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The roar of energy filled the chamber, threatening to overwhelm them. Finally, Serenya cried out, "Now! Seal the last conduit!" Elias slammed the bolt into place, twisting it with all his strength. Sparks exploded around him, heat searing his arm. But the bolt locked, sealing the flow. At the same time, Serenya's body blazed with light. The resonance field snapped into alignment, stabilizing the plasma. The roar faded. The tremors ceased. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by their heavy breathing. They had done it. When they stepped out, Chief Vara and the others rushed forward. Cheers erupted as the systems confirmed stability. "You two saved the station," Vara said, pride in her voice. "Without you, we'd all be dust by now." Elias grinned tiredly, wiping sweat from his brow. But when he turned to Serenya, he froze. Her hollow disguise was still down. Everyone could see her true form. Gasps echoed through the crew. Engineers stared at her glowing skin, her radiant patterns, her luminous hair. Some looked amazed. Others looked fearful. Serenya stiffened, her light dimming as if in shame. She reached for her wrist device. But before she could activate it, Elias stepped forward, raising his voice. "Listen to me! She just saved every single one of us. You saw what she can do. Without her light, without her true form, this station would be gone. You owe your lives to her." The crew looked at him, then at Serenya. Slowly, the fear faded, replaced by respect. Several engineers even nodded in agreement. Serenya lowered her hand, her eyes wide with surprise. She looked at Elias as though seeing him in a new way. Later, back in their quarters, the silence between them was not heavy anymore. It was calm, almost warm. Serenya sat on her bed, her hollow disguise active again. Elias leaned against his desk, his arms crossed. "You risked a lot today," she said softly. "Not just in the chamber. Out there, too. You defended me. I told you I'd protect your secret," Elias replied. "But after what you did, I don't think it should even be a secret anymore. People should see who you really are." Her violet eyes shimmered. "You do not understand. For my people, revealing our form is like exposing the deepest part of our soul." "It is not done lightly," Elias nodded. "I get it, and I'll respect that. But I want you to know I don't just accept it. I trust it. I trust you." For the first time since they met, Serenya smiled. Not a faint curve, not a guarded expression, a real, genuine smile. "You're different, Elias Trent," she said softly. "Perhaps. This is why humans are feared and admired. You see what others cannot." Elias smiled back, warmth spreading through his chest. "Maybe. Or maybe I just got lucky with my roommate." Serenya laughed quietly, a sound like soft chimes. The rift that once divided them was gone. In its place stood something stronger. Trust forged not by words, but by fire, danger, and survival. And both of them knew. Their story together was only beginning. The Viora Research Hub had returned to its usual rhythm. Corridors hummed with quiet activity. Data pads blinked steadily on consoles, and distant engines thrummed softly. Yet for Elias Trent, life on the station had changed forever. Since the reactor crisis, he and Serenya had grown closer. Not yet friends in the way humans often understood it, but connected in ways deeper than ordinary companionship. They had seen each other at their strongest and most vulnerable. Trust had been forged in fire and glowing light, and in the dangerous hum of the plasma chamber. The morning after the emergency, Elias woke early. The artificial light shifted to a soft orange, simulating a rising sun. He rose from his bed, careful not to disturb Serenia. But she was already awake, standing at the window of their quarters. The glow of her skin, dim beneath her hollow disguise, reflected faintly on the metallic walls. She watched the stars outside, motionless, lost in thought. Elias felt a strange mix of awe and curiosity. He approached slowly. "Good morning," he said softly. She didn't turn. "Morning," she replied, her voice calm but quiet. Elias studied her for a moment, then asked cautiously, "Do you ever miss not hiding?" She finally looked at him, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Sometimes. But hiding is survival. My people learned long ago that exposure brings danger. And yet," she paused as if weighing her words, "and yet there are moments when hiding feels lonely." Elias nodded, understanding more than she realized. "I can't imagine what that feels like. But you're not alone here anymore. Not with me." Her lips curved into a small, almost shy smile. It was different from the smiles he had seen before. Softer, warmer, and genuine. Their work resumed with careful efficiency. Repairs from the reactor incident continued, and both were heavily involved. Yet, unlike before, their cooperation felt seamless. Elias knew exactly when to act, when to pause, and when to let Serenia handle delicate machinery that responded only to her Lyran biology. One day, as they were adjusting energy regulators in a side chamber, Elias noticed a subtle shift in Serenia's glow. Her skin pulsed faintly in colors he had not seen before. Soft greens and gentle golds like a quiet sunrise. "What's that?" he asked. Serenia glanced at him, faintly surprised that he noticed. "It is a reaction to my emotions. My body expresses what I feel. Humans cannot usually see it or do not notice." "I notice," Elias said simply. "I notice everything about you, Serenia. That's why I trust you, and I admire you." Her eyes softened, and for the first time she let him see a spark of her true self beneath the discipline and restraint. "You are unusual human," she said quietly. "Most would be overwhelmed, frightened, or distant. You are not." Elias shrugged, feeling a little embarrassed. "Maybe humans aren't all bad. Or maybe I just got lucky with my roommate." Serenia laughed softly, a delicate sound that made him grin. As days passed, their bond grew in ways neither fully understood. They shared small moments, fixing a stubborn energy conduit together, laughing quietly when sparks hit the wrong place, or sharing a meal in the small quarters while talking about homeworlds, cultures, and dreams. Serenia even began leaving her hollow disguise off when Elias was around. She did not do this for anyone else, never for colleagues, never for visitors, never for anyone. Only him. And every time Elias felt awe anew. Her form was radiant, alive, and breathtaking, but he saw it differently now. He did not just admire her beauty. He respected her, trusted her, and valued her presence. One evening, while they were finishing a calibration routine, a small incident reminded them of the fragility of life aboard the station. A power conduit sparked unexpectedly, sending a surge of energy across the room. Elias reacted instinctively, diving forward to redirect the energy away from Serenia. Sparks scattered and the lights flickered, but both were unharmed. Serenia stood glowing faintly and said simply, "You still protect me, even when there is no need. You could let me handle it alone." "I won't," Elias replied. "Not ever. You saved me too, by trusting me with your secret, by letting me be here with you." She studied him, her glowing pattern soft and slow. "Perhaps that is the essence of trust, not in words but in actions, and in acceptance." Elias nodded. "Exactly." For a long moment they simply looked at each other, not as human and alien, not as roommate and scientist, but as companions, equal in strength, understanding, and respect. Weeks turned into months, and their friendship strengthened. They became a team recognized across the station, not only for their skill but also for their unity. Other crew members began to notice their bond, and while some whispered in curiosity, others admired it. Human and Lyran working side by side, learning from each other, understanding each other's differences, and respecting them. One day, During a break, Serenia shared a story about her people, about the Lyrans' past struggles and the reason they hid their forms. Elias listened, fascinated, never interrupting. He realized that trust was not just about keeping a secret. It was about understanding, accepting, and protecting what was precious. "You've never judged me," she said softly. "Even when I revealed all of myself. Most humans would have reacted poorly. I've never judged you," Elias said firmly. "And I never will. That's what makes trust possible. That's what makes a bond real." Serenia's glowing skin shimmered faintly with soft blues and greens, patterns pulsing gently. For her people it was a vulnerable display, but with Elias it was natural. Months later, a minor station emergency occurred, a sudden fluctuation in the outer shields during a meteor shower. Elias and Serenia worked together seamlessly, coordinating repairs, adjusting shield emitters, and stabilizing the station's orbit. Once again, they faced danger together, yet this time there was no fear. There was understanding, trust, and quiet laughter, even in small victories. When they returned to their quarters afterward, tired but unhurt, Serenia looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting genuine warmth. "You have changed the way I see humans," she said.
"Perhaps your kind is capable of more than I imagined." Elias smiled.
"And you've changed the way I see Lyran. I've learned more than I ever expected. You've taught me patience, understanding, trust." They shared a quiet moment of companionship, not needing words to fill the space. The bond they had formed was unspoken, yet stronger than anything else aboard the station. The true turning point came one evening when the station hosted an interspecies conference. Delegates from dozens of alien species filled the halls, each with their unique customs and appearances. Humans were present too, many cautious and curious. Elias and Serenia attended together side by side. And for the first time, Serenia allowed her true form to be fully visible to others. Not hiding, not disguising glowing patterns shimmering softly. Whispers rippled across the room, but the reactions were different this time. No one mocked or feared. Instead, they watched in awe, admiration, and respect. Serenia looked at Elias. "You see, I am not alone. Because of you, perhaps others can see me without fear." Elias took her hand lightly, careful not to startle her. "And I'll be here always. We protect each other. That's what we do." A new chapter had begun, not just for them, but for the understanding between species aboard the Viora research hub. In the quiet of their shared quarters afterward, Elias reflected on everything that had happened. By accident, he had seen her true form. That moment, though shocking, had been the start of something extraordinary. Now, months later, he realized the truth. Humanity's strength was not just in technology or courage. It was in the ability to see others fully, to accept them, to trust them, and to build bonds across differences. Serenia smiled at him, soft light pulsing faintly along her skin. "Perhaps," she said, "humanity is capable of more than I ever imagined." Elias returned her smile. "And perhaps Lyran are more incredible than anyone can ever know, if only they are given a chance to be seen." They sat together in silence, glowing lights and quiet hums of the station surrounding them. Not as human and alien, not as roommate and stranger, but as equals, companions, and friends bound by trust forged in crisis and by a bond stronger than words. The stars outside shimmered, distant and eternal. And within the Viora Research Hub, a new story of unity, trust, and understanding had begun. A story of humans, Lyrans, and the extraordinary strength of friendship that could cross any boundary.